Alright guys, so we've plumbed our Flexzilla 3/8 air hose with 1/4 inch MPT fittings straight into our bushing that comes straight out of the 5th stage regulator here on our paint booth filtration system setup. I plumbed it straight in because I want to reduce the amount of quick connect couplings I have for any type of spraying project that I'm going to be undertaking in the future, and you want to do the same thing as well. You don't want any hose reels here. You don't want any swivel connections or any quick connect couplings. You want to try to minimize any type of swivel connections and or quick connect couplings as much as possible, and that's the reason we plumbed it straight in. There's a few other places around the shop that we plumbed them straight into whatever we're coming out of as far as air source wise goes, and you want to do the same thing. That does come at a cost. The cost is quick, easy access to another tool that we could be hooking up. However, I'm going to be setting up this area as a designated paint area. So the only air that's ever going to flow through here is going to be for a painting project, hence why I decided to go ahead and connect it straight into the regulator instead of having the ability to connect up another hose or another tool in the future. Your situation may differ in that regard, and in that case, do whatever you want to do. I'm just explaining what I've done and why I've chosen to do it that way. So we're not going to put any hose reels here, no swivel connections, no lead-in hoses to a hose reel, anything else to constrain the flow at all. We're going to simply hang this with a hose hanger and call it a day. Now, as you can see, all we did was screw a V-shape hanger. I got this thing from Harbor Freight. They're normally $2. There is a super coupon for $1.49, and right now it's Black Friday, so this thing was on sale for a whopping 99 cents. Just because I spend a bunch of money on fancy couplings doesn't necessarily mean we have to spend that money here in a fancy hose reel either. And in fact, a paint booth is somewhere where you don't want to spend that money. You want to minimize the restrictions in the air system as much as possible, which means reducing the amount of swivel connectors that you have. Any kind of lead-in hoses for a hose reel would not be wanted in this situation, and any quick connect couplers on the supply side of the regulator that feeds the hose that goes to the spray gun itself would want to be minimized in this situation. You want as much volume, which is CFM, of airflow as you could possibly get, and that's why we plumb this thing straight into the actual regulator. All we do with our hose now is just bolt it up and hanging on this thing out of the way. So there's no need for a hose reel. Don't waste your money on one. You're actually going to be hindering the system a little bit as far as volume goes if you do install one in your painting area. And that right there is all you want to do. You just want to have a hose hanger and you just want to coil it up and out of the way. Another reason why we went with the Flexzilla hose, because it doesn't hold any kind of shape or have any memory, and it's good all the way down to like some ridiculously cold temperature. So this is all complete. All we have to do now is pressure test. But we can't do that until we install the rest of the female couplers on the RapidAir block. So I'm going to go do that, and we're going to pressure test this system, and this thing will be complete. All right, guys, everything is hooked up. We've got all of the couplers on the RapidAir blocks, and all that's left to do now is to pressure test. So we've got air in all the lines now. We do need to add the desiccant air beads to this desiccant air dryer right here, this canister. So we're going to remove this real quick, throw the beads in there, and then we're going to pressure test to see if we got any leaks. Now I'm hoping the camera picks that up, that little wisp of dust that's coming off of these beads as I'm pouring them in. That's why it's really important to have that fifth stage. See if I can get this to kick up some more. That fifth stage air dryer. If you could just see that little bit of dust, you know, coming off of these as I'm installing them. All right, moment of truth. I left the drain open. Well, that's the first problem. And this was on the reviews. These automatic quick drains, they say that you hit them once and then they constantly leak. And that's exactly what just happened. So we're going to take this thing apart. See if we can't get it to seal. All right, so I just removed the canister on the number 1 stage filter, and there's desiccant air beads in it. So that's what was preventing the seal from the quick drain. So we're gonna put all this together and see. Alright, so I've got all the debris cleaned out of the stage 1 and stage 2 filters, or just the canisters rather. These quick drains here on the bottom are a little finicky. If there's any debris whatsoever sticking between the actual plunger and the seal, it won't seal. So if you're having issues with these not sealing, you probably have some dust or debris in between your rubber seal or whatever seal's inside. I don't know, I haven't taken them apart. If it's giving you trouble, just take it off, clean it out, and it should seal right up. If you're having even more trouble and you're tired of messing with it, just remove these for this style. This is just the typical turnstile, but all in all, it's together, it's complete, and it doesn't leak. So that's the important thing, we can actually use it. Now I'm going to show you the difference between the Milton high flow V-style fittings and how they connect, and the Prevost fitting, and why I chose it for the paint booth. All right, so we've got our air supply on. We're gonna just run this up to, about 40 PSI. That's what we're gonna be spraying with. Now I do have some leaks on the fittings on the gun, don't judge me. We have our little cheap Harbor Freight spray gun. We've got our Prevost coupler, one-handed operation. It connects, and then you just hit the button. It releases all the pressure in the gun, and then it's free to disconnect. It doesn't actually shoot the gun out. And in fact, if you hold the button, the gun still can't release until you release the button, and all the pressure from what you have it connected to is released as well. It's more noticeable on a something that stores a lot of air pressure. Let's say I had this hooked to another hose. You would be able to tell that a lot more readily. Now this will kind of illustrate a little bit more. I've got my original 100-foot Husky hose. This has a standard IM fitting. I don't even know if this is going to connect, so let's find out. Definitely does not seal. So let's change this out for a high flow fitting. Alright guys, just to illustrate what I'm trying to say here is this Prevost coupler actually has a safety pressure relief valve in it. I don't know, but basically what it does is when you have something with pressure on the other side that hasn't released itself pretty much to zero, the fittings will not release. Whereas a standard Milton fitting will actually shoot the air hose out of it. This won't, and I'll show you. So we've got our hose. This is just a regular 100-foot hose filled up. And we hit our button. And I don't know if you saw that, but it actually released a second time. So, and we'll hit our button. pressure release and you see that second pop, that's when you can actually remove the hose. If everything's connected and you go to release it, I'm actually pulling on the hose and can't get it to come apart. So that's one really nice feature of the Prevost coupler. So if you're hooking this to a whip or something that has a lot of stored air pressure and you don't want that piece flying apart when you go to disconnect it, Prevost coupler is definitely the way to go. However, again, they are not cheap. One interesting thing to note is I went ahead and put a Milton V-style male end on my 100-foot hose just to see if the Prevost fitting would work. And it actually does. So if you are switching to a high flow coupler and you don't want to use Prevost all over your shop, or just for the male you have a couple, or you just have a few fittings that you want to know if they will interchange, they actually will. And the safety feature still works. Alright guys, well that's going to bring this video series to a close. We've got all of the hard pipe installed, the RapidAir system installed, all the blocks and quick connect Milton V-style high flow couplers installed throughout the shop. Everything works as designed and nothing leaks. So that's the important thing. I hope this video series helped you kind of decide if you're going to be putting in a new air pipe system in your shop. Hopefully figure out what the options are. The one thing I would advise against is buying the RapidAir Maxline pipe straightener. You saw me use it throughout the video to straighten some pipes. It doesn't really work as advertised. If you're expecting something to provide you that rigid, straight, perfectly straight pipe, you need to look elsewhere. You probably need to step up to the 1-inch aluminum, solid aluminum piping, but I didn't want to do that for this system for a multitude of reasons. But if you're looking to straighten the 3/4 inch pipe or the 1/2 inch pipe, unfortunately, that just doesn't cut it. You're not going to get it perfectly straight. It's still going to have some bends and waves in it. It's still fairly flexible pipe in and of itself. So maybe that's the reason, but the actual straightener tube thing, the actual tube straightener, it's about 140 bucks, and in my opinion, that's $140 that can be spent elsewhere. As always, please click that like button for this video as it helps the YouTube algorithm for me. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so now. And if you want to keep watching some of the stuff that I've created, please watch one of these 2 videos. Until next time, get out in your shop and do something productive.